I'm working on an illustration board here. The first objective here is just to slap on some color, get the large white areas filled with an approximate color that I plan to use in the finished product. This is cobalt blue, a little bit of white in it, and show you the mixture once I get some of this paint on. You can use a shortcut for getting these grays, like a little bit of burnt sienna in that combination. But I think the best way to learn to work for color mixing is to set yourself up with 3 primary colors. I'm just kind of approximating some variety of clouds. The thing about acrylics, I can go back in and shape and render them as I see fit. Once I see the way the rest of it's shaping up, I'm just using a combination of blue with a touch of yellow in it, almost no white in this, to get this land in the distance, but I will add a small amount of white just to get some variation in the values. A little bit more here, so you can get quite dark greens. And just a cobalt blue with a little bit of red and yellow in it, slightly more yellow. Again, just blocking in all the main shapes first. Try and straighten this edge out. It could be, I'd like it to be a little lighter near the edge of that land. Maybe not that light. And I see some ideas as I go along here. I can flare up the clouds a little bit with some white. Just need some variety with a small brush in here just to get some depth so those trees over there aren't quite so solid and flat looking. Don't want to get too fussy this early. I still have the whole sand and these tide pools to fill in. And here's the basic palette I use. It's cobalt blue, hands are yellow, and quinacridone red, could be permanent rose. Any and I start by mixing the strongest color first, and then adding a little bit of yellow into the edge, just to see, because I'm looking for some grays. But I don't want it to be a dead mud gray. If it goes green, I'll just go back and get a little bit more red. Once I get a mixture, the wet brush is wet to start with too, so it pulls off the paint and thins it just slightly. But I need a bit of white because the real personality of the color doesn't show up until you get some white in it. I get a little bluer for the next job, so. But for this sand, I'll add a little more yellow into the blue and red combination. Just switch it over more toward brown than gray like this. You can see how the 3 colors pushing against one another give you a full range. Same 3 colors used to mix this combination. A little more yellow in it, more red. Great thing to practice just to get the hang of working with color. Just limit yourself to 3 primaries. I picked the three that are closest to the printer's colors, you know, this magenta, cyan, and yellow. I don't use black because I'll mix the darks by themselves, but most of my mix has some white in it so that it goes opaque. And I keep changing the balance, a little more blue in some brush loads, a little more red and yellow in others. Now find a blue that would be suitable just to block in this puddle. I'm not terribly concerned about the first block-in colors because they can always be changed and will have to be changed because once you see the other colors up against them, you can say, well, this has to be lighter or darker. I don't know if I can get some reflection here with vertical strokes. Maybe not. You know, get ideas for finishing up these clouds as I go. It looks a little bit flat, so I'll see if I can give it a bit more shape because they got pale grays. And you can play around with the forms of these clouds forever. Now I got to get something on this log. Trick here is the sand is all brown around it. The log wants to be brown too. So I've got to be careful about matching the values. When one edge touches the other edge, it's got to be lighter or darker. So I'm going to make this piece of root sticking up here quite a bit darker than anything around it. But there will be other places where I need to make this log lighter than the background so it separates. This is a watercolor brush now. I was using bristles mostly, but I need something with a bit of a point on it to get this detail. I'm just using water to thin it ever so slightly. I don't want it to be runny, but it's got to come off the brush, so the brush has to be a little bit wet. You can see I just added more red and blue to the shadow side here to get those darks and sort of match up the color of the log for the reflections in the puddle. I go pretty dark here for these reflections because they're reflecting something that's pretty dark. This is just a 10 by 15-inch sketch, so I don't want to belabor it too much, just show you the different techniques for applying the paint and for mixing color.